Hey, learners. I hope that you are having a great day. In this lesson we will examine the effect of materials upon the environment. We will discuss the value of materials, fossil fuels, petroleum oil production, and how it affects the environment. Let us begin. Materials may be useful or harmful. Materials are useful because they are used to make products. The products are advantageous because they solve problems that people have as they live their lives. It allows people to be creative and think of new ideas about how to solve problems. The production of materials and products also provides employment for people and helps the economy of South Africa. Materials may cause harm to the environment too. Materials are produced from raw materials. The use of raw materials diminishes the availability of materials for future use. This makes the raw and produced materials more expensive. Material production also affects the environment by causing pollution. Humans depend upon fossil fuels as a source of energy. What are fossil fuels? There are three main kinds of fossil fuels. Crude oil. Crude oil is a liquid. Crude oil is used to make our machines such as cars, aircraft and ships to move. Crude oil formed a long time ago mainly from ancient protists and algae. Coal. Coal is a solid. It is a rock. We use coal for lighting, heating and electricity. Coal was formed by land plants like the ferns and gymnosperms. Natural gas. Natural gas is a gas. We use it as a source of light and heat energy. As with crude oil, natural gas formed from protists and other small organisms. How are fossil fuels formed? Fossil fuels began to form many millions of years ago during the Carboniferous period. Some of the land was covered with vast forests. The plants in the forests used the light energy of the sun to photosynthesize. The plants stored energy in the form of food as carbohydrates. An important element of carbohydrates is carbon. The carbon helps to store the energy in the plants. Eventually the ancient plants and animals died. The plants and animals of the forests died and were covered with sediments of water and rock. This exposed the dead plants to great heat and pressure. This caused the minerals in the surrounding rock to be absorbed by the dead plants. The plants eventually became rock. We call these plant rocks fossils. Early humans discovered that these fossil rocks could burn and produce heat and light energy. It is the carbon formed during photosynthesis from millions of years ago that is used during burning. As the burning takes place, the energy that was in the living plants is released. Since heat energy and light energy is produced, these rocks are also known as fuels, hence we call them fossil fuels. In modern times, fossil fuels are mined from the earth and used for cooking, heating, transport and many other purposes. We will study how petroleum oil is mined, transported and refined. The process of mining petroleum oil starts with surveyors, who test the rock and soil of a region. When an area of land is thought to contain petroleum oil, large amounts of money from private sector and governments are invested in the development of plans to mine the area. When oil is mined from the ocean, an oil rig called a derrick is used to extract the crude oil from the ocean floor. On land, large oil drills are used to mine the oil. The oil is a thick black liquid, as it is taken from the oil well. The crude oil is transported on ships, called tankers, to different countries throughout the world, where it will be sent to the oil refineries. The tankers can carry up to 300,000 barrels of oil. This map shows the main shipping routes for oil. The most petroleum oil is mined in Iran, Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. You will notice that the shipping routes pass South Africa. This means that the ships will dock at South African harbors. This creates a lot of money for South Africa. The crude oil is transported from the harbors to the refineries with pipes or trucks. This map shows the main oil pipelines in southern Africa. The petroleum oil is in a raw state and contains many impurities. The impurities have to be removed. If the impurities remain in the petroleum oil, it will damage machines such as motor car engines. Through a rather complicated process, the crude oil is distilled and condensed to purify the crude oil. This happens in an enormous structure called a distillation column or fractioning column. This picture shows what the distillation column looks like from the outside. Inside the distillation column, the crude oil is separated into different parts called fractions. The crude oil with the lowest mass rises to the top of the distillation column, and the crude oil with the greatest mass sinks to the bottom of the distillation column. Each fraction is used to make certain products. You can see some of the products on this diagram. Which of these petroleum products have you used? The different petroleum products are stored and later sent to industries for use in the production of new products. Oil is refined and used because it fulfills the needs of people. Petroleum was cheap and easily accessible at the start of the 20th century. This is why it became the most important fuel for driving machines. As the use of petroleum products increased, so did the price of petroleum. The higher the price of petrol, the more expensive transportation becomes. This makes the price of products more expensive. This graph shows the price of petrol in South Africa from July 2019 to April 2020. You will see that during the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, the price of petrol was very low because fewer people needed cars and other machines. However, this trend will change as the world moves out of lockdown. Use of petroleum has many negative effects upon the environment. We will discuss global warming, acid rain, oil slicks and other ways in which petroleum affects the environment. Global warming occurs when the temperature of the atmosphere increases. It is caused by an increase in unnatural carbon that is emitted into the atmosphere when industries, motor vehicles and people burn materials like petroleum, coal and natural gas. The unnatural carbon traps the heat energy from the sun and earth so that it cannot radiate out into space. This increases the temperature of the atmosphere. This has led to the melting of ice at the poles, rising sea levels, extreme changes in the weather, droughts and floods. Acid rain is created when chemicals called sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide are emitted into the atmosphere. These chemicals are also produced when crude oil is refined. The chemicals mix easily with water in the clouds. The mixture creates a poisonous acid. When precipitation occurs, the acid rain falls to the surface of the earth. The acid becomes part of the water and soil and leads to the death of living organisms. It also can cause breathing problems for humans. In some parts of the world, the acid rain is so strong that it can destroy stone buildings and statues. Acid rain falls most often where there are a lot of industries. In South Africa, the most acid rain falls near Johannesburg, Pretoria and other big cities. This photograph shows petroleum oil floating on water. This is an oil slick. Oil slicks occur when crude oil is spilled into the oceans, lakes or rivers. This may occur when ships are wrecked or when oil tankers leak oil. An example of an oil slick occurred in April 2010 when a petroleum company spilled crude oil into the Caribbean Gulf off the coast of the United States of America. The oil destroyed ecosystems and disrupted people's lives. The damage amounted to billions of dollars. In the past, ships have also been stranded off the coast of South Africa and caused oil slicks. Oil refineries do not only emit carbon, they emit almost 100 other kinds of toxic gases each day. These gases are hazardous to human health by infecting the respiratory system and skin. This has meant that people living near oil refineries have more medical problems. Another form of pollution is water pollution and the deterioration of water catchment areas. As petroleum is refined and used, toxic liquids are poured into our water catchment areas. This brings about the deterioration of our water resources. The mining of minerals and use of land for farms brings about soil erosion, which removes the upper layer of soil in which plants exist. As the soil is eroded, the plants have less soil in which to grow. It also reduces the availability of food for animals. This is a summary of the main points of this lesson. Materials are used to make products that meet people's needs. Materials may have a good or bad effect upon the environment. Petroleum oil, coal and natural gas are the three kinds of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels were formed millions of years ago, when plants became rock. The fossil plants produce heat energy and light energy and are called fossil fuels. In modern times, fossil fuels are mined from the earth. Petroleum oil is mined using a derrick or an oil drill. Petroleum oil is transported around the world in oil tankers. Petroleum oil may be transported over land, in trucks or with pipes. Petroleum oil is refined to remove impurities at an oil refinery. The petroleum is separated in a distillation column. Many products of petroleum oil are made from the refinery process. The price of petroleum oil affects the cost of living. Global warming, acid rain, oil slicks, respiratory disease, pollution of water and soil erosion are harmful effects of petroleum use upon the environment.
Ha 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 ha.